Hey everybody, welcome to Facebook Live with me and Lonnell. I'm waiting for Lonnell to chime in here. Lonnell, you there? Let me see if I can add you. My third time going live, trying to check out this awesome new technology. Hi Jessica. Jessica Garate, we used to work together in Midland, Odessa, Texas, my running buddy. And so Lonnell Williams is a soul brother of mine, and whenever we have, hey Tree, I remember you from USF, hey, what up? So Lonnell and I, every time we get together, we talk about so many, hey Lauren, I need to come see the baby. Anyway, every time we chat, we're always like, oh my God, I wish we could just record our conversations. So we're like, well, why don't we try to record our conversations? And we try to go live every day. So let me see, I'm adding Lonnell now. And we're just trying to play around with this new technology. Lonnell is a master. So it says it's adding you, Lonnell, so I don't know what's taking so long here. But he is, hey.
This is even better.
Social media, what up?
What's going on?
Hey, where are you at now?
I am in Kentucky. Don't ask.
I feel every week when I talk to you, you're in some different place.
Someplace crazy, somewhere else. Let me just share this quickly.
Okay, and for those of you guys that are watching, Lonnell is a flight attendant for a private jet.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be talking about that on my social media.
Okay, but anyway, so that's why he's always all over the place. We won't talk much more about you a mystery man.
Right, yeah, no, it's just it's a company policy, so I'm not supposed to be saying all that, even though I don't
have to say who. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So,
so what are you doing in Kentucky?
I see my cousin in there. Hey, Jay, and my friend Carrie from the Hair Radio Show. Hey, say that again, Toan. I'm sorry.
I said, so what are you doing in Kentucky this week?
So it's actually near Cincinnati, like right across the river. So today I went to the Underground Railroad Museum. It's part of the Smithsonian. It's really, I've been before, but it's always something different when I go back.
Okay.
So I went to visit it because it's like right down the street, or across the river. But and I just wasn't even, I'm not so well versed in all the historical stuff that even goes on, in this part of the country. I mean, I just think, Ohio, and then I just have my judgments, and they're wrong. So, I'm trying to open my mind and have a more comprehensive historical perspective.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I travel too is, aside from go to grocery stores, their local stores, especially in other countries, to see what packaging they have. Tells you a lot about the culture, is going to see different museums and such. So when I was in New York, I went to the Met for the first time. I can't believe.
Don't you love that place?
Oh my God. Architecturally, I mean, it was just stunning. And just to see a lot of the, the Monet paintings and Picasso and things like that I've always only kind of studied as a kid growing up in bad neighborhoods, and to actually see it come alive and just be there. It's like breathtaking.
Right. I always tell people that, seeing it, like you said, being exposed to it is important, but seeing it in a textbook or on a slide in a lecture hall, hearing somebody talk about it is totally okay, and that's fine, but nothing beats actually being there.
Being there and
nothing beats being there.
And you know what is
interesting
more? You know, interests me even more so than some of the paintings sometimes are the people. When I went to the Louvre, I think you say Louvre, but anyway, museum in Paris, because I went to Paris for my 40th birthday. I turned 40 this year, and I saw the Mona Lisa, and I was.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying my friend Sean just joined in. Zumba, he's the Zumba king, I believe he's in North Jersey or either New York or both. Anyway, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't
try Zumba. I've never tried. But anyway, I was saying that when I went and saw the Mona Lisa, I was underwhelmed. It was like this little tiny thing, and to me, I didn't think it was like anything super amazing. But what interests me, and I posted it on social media, was the people taking selfies with it, with the Mona Lisa, or like just which is fine. Like for me, I snap real quick and then I save it and then I'll upload it later when I leave. But people are like totally just on it the whole time and they're not even like enjoying it. I mean, for me, I love to capture things on Instagram because I feel like it's an art and I love photos. And I love, like, when you and I met up last time in San Francisco, we took a quick photo, we had our talk, we connected, we caught up, and then we like uploaded it later. But I'm just saying that people were there like for literally,
and not in the moment.
yeah, not in the moment the whole time. And I thought that was fascinating. So I took a photo of them taking a photo with them. So how did you like this museum?
I mean, it was awesome. It was incredible. I'd been before, and I totally forgot that there's a short film there that was dedicated just for this museum that Oprah Winfrey narrates, and she did it back in 2004. And I had totally forgotten about it because I think the last time that I came here, I didn't go. The theater was either I just passed that exhibit the last time, and so I had totally forgotten about it. And when I was in there, and I was like, "Oh my God, I totally forgot you did this."
That's so crazy.
It was back from like 2004. But I loved it. It's very, like I said, it's very comprehensive. Just telling the story of a lot of stuff that went with the Underground Railroad in general, but a lot of stuff that's specific to the Ohio and Kentucky area. So yeah, I highly recommend it if you're in the area.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I was in DC. I know you were in DC last week, but when I was in DC, one of my favorite museums, being a former TV news reporter, is it was like the news museum. The Newseum. Have you been there?
Museum, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That one you have to pay for though. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. It was worth the money, and it was so fascinating to see. One thing that gave me the chills was I went into the civil rights section, and to see the newspapers and history repeating itself nowadays, because that you see nowadays about this administration, about things that are happening, I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe that this is so eerie that it's kind of coming back around. And
it never went anywhere.
Yeah, right. And I love one of my favorite quotes, and I think it's an Oprah quote, but one of my favorite quotes is like, if you don't learn something, like everything you experience in the world is here to teach you something, and if you don't learn from it, it comes back in different shapes, forms, people, situations. So if you don't learn from it the first time, it just keeps coming back, and it's just so scary nowadays.
It is. One of the things she used to ask, one of the questions that she used to always ask was, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn? Mm-hmm. And for me, piggybacking on what you just talked about, it was learning to obey the whispers. Like I would hear the whispers, like, you shouldn't be doing that. But my ego was like, no, I'm not trying to hear that because that's not in the narrative I'm trying to construct over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then so it just comes back louder and louder until like the whole thing just comes crumbling down. You have no choice but to deal with it.
Yeah. And the whispers don't just come in like, hey, Lonnell, hey, Toan. It comes in like stomach aches. Like if you're at a job you really hate and it gives you like, I used to work in a newsroom where literally people were walking with their heads down. Right. People were getting stomach aches. People said after they did their live shots, they went home and they cried and they curled up in a ball. And I was just like, you got to listen to your body. And I think if anything, you have to go back to your breath. That takes you back to the present moment. But then listening to your body, because your body don't lie. Your mind will mess you up and lie and try to figure out. Your ego actually will trick you. It's a tricky little biatch, but but if you listen to your like gut, or like if you're having a stomach ache or you're feeling your heart palpitate, then it is, it's a big indicator that something is going on.
There are always physical indicators. When you walk into an environment or you walk into a room, if it's a job and you hate going there, if you wake up dreading going there, you need to make some different choices. You can't, I'm not saying walk in today and quit your job, but you need to plant seeds mentally and spiritually, and then start actively pursuing things that do interest you. Because most of us work at least 40-hour weeks. Some of us 60. Some of us even more.
Well, in the Bay Area, way
that much time on a job, you better enjoy it. Yeah. And if you're just doing it for the money, well, that's nice. So hopefully when you die, they will bury all your things with you. Yeah. But you have to find some joy and peace. And then you find, if you really pursue what you're passionate about, or things that you enjoy, you'll find that the compensation will eventually come along with it.
Yeah. Amen. One of my mentors told me back in the day, Robert Honda, I used to follow him around. He's a TV reporter in San Francisco at the time, and now he's at a different station. But he used to say, the key to, a lot of my mentors actually told me this too. It's like the key to happiness or just joy in your job is figuring out what you're good at and what you really love and trying to get paid for it.
Right. Right.
You know,
And
and
it's
then
that simple.
I think that's happiness though, because happiness is a condition. But I think joy is like something that is sustainable, and that always happens when you're giving back. So if
Yeah.
you are using your talent, like I love to talk. So if I'm using it to talk and do motivational speaking or write or read to kids or whatever, and using that communication skills that is my talent, then I feel like when you use whatever you have and give it away, it just feels better because you're sharing. And also it's just something that comes super easy for you, you know?
Right. Yep.
Uh,
You definitely have to use your gifts. Understand that they are gifts and talents, and to use them. I've had to call myself on the carpet for that very same thing. Sometimes it's like, no, you have a talent or a gift. You don't see it as such, but
yeah.
it is. So.
But that's the whispers. Remember, like when I met you in
That's the
LA?
whispers.
Yes, when I met you in LA, remember I was like, dude, your voice, like what are you using your voice for? Like there's all sorts of wisdom that is channeling through you and coming through you, and like, what are you doing with this? And then wherever we talk, I'm always asking you that, and then you're always mirroring that back to me, and that's why I was just like, well, we're just recording this conversation. I think this would be actually a good love letter to just people in general, but I've always wanted to capture like different life lessons or just different things that we're talking about that's in our minds that for especially the kids to see, like, it's like a love letter to my niece and nephew, the younger kids listening or watching. So what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
Me? Like I said,
Yeah.
it's still obeying the whispers. Like I
Still
said, I would hear them, but to actually obey them.
Okay.
Like instead, so when I hear it the first time, it's like, okay, when you get that, it's like, okay, now I just shut down and get still. Okay, what are you trying to teach me? Because I've already been like laying on the floor, crying over a man, or looking at my bank account, wondering how come this is not working out and how am I going to pay for that? I have been through all of that shit. So
same here.
now, and in each of those instances, it was like there were warnings long before the house was on fire. So when the smoke detector first went, dude, now when it does that, I listen. And I'm like, okay, so what is this trying to teach me so that I don't have to repeat this shit? Because I'm like, I don't want to have to repeat this. So universe, you have my undivided attention. What am I supposed to get? So so that was the lesson that took me the longest to learn. And now that I do that, when I first get that internal whisper, I just get still and it gets my full attention. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Because like I said, I've been there where the house just comes tumbling down on you. And that's just not, I'm not trying to be on the floor crying over a man or none of that ever again.
Ever.
Yeah.
But then, okay, so you come and then, so say something, you're getting this aha, but then how do you, okay, you're tuning in, but then how do you sit? People are afraid to sit still, especially in the big cities we live in. Like the other day I was doing a meditation, and some days are better than the others. Some days my mind starts thinking about what am I gonna do, this, that, and the other. So what do you do then? Like you sit in stillness, and then what? Like, what do you mean?
You just have to be consistent and be conscious and realize that when all the things of life come at you and they come at light speed these days, sometimes you just have to breathe. Just take a deep breath and stop so that you can be focused. Otherwise, you'll just be swept up in it. And then before you know it, you're trolling the president or cussing out your neighbor or, doing something, you know what I'm saying? You get caught up in it. So I have to do it every day. It's a challenge for me every single day. But it's like for me, I just have to stop and take a deep breath, first of all, and be like, whoa, and be aware. Because that's the key, the awareness of what's going on or the situation or the energy that I'm giving right at this particular moment. And then once I do that, then I can start to like I said, once you breathe and focus, it's like, okay, this is that. These are the goals. This is my focus. And then you maintain your narrative.
That's really good. But does awareness come with age?
It comes with practice.
Yeah, I think it comes with experience.
Because when you're younger, you might be a little more, centered in your ego just because you may not know better. But whenever you get these lessons, once you start applying them, some of us are just stubborn and we wait until we have age.
Okay.
That is right. That does work. Yeah. But I know, younger people that are very in tune and aware and then use that. So it's consistency that makes that work.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think that for me, it does come with practice. And going back to my breath is definitely like that what helps me, because once I start thinking about other things when I'm meditating, then I just start thinking again, like I don't even think, I just go back and go,
yeah.
and I catch
And for
myself
people that
doing
don't
that.
meditate, they need to understand that's a critical point, because
Yeah,
thoughts are going to come to you,
yes,
especially if you're new at it, and you just got
yeah,
to stop and not beat yourself up and just focus again. Try to just focus on your breathing or something, and eventually you'll get to the space
yeah.
where you don't have those thoughts. Hey Jay, that's my cousin in there. I missed the beginning.
Hey,
What's the topic?
hey
We're just kind of
Fiona,
talking about life lessons and kind of sharing our week for
hey Kevin.
the past week. So I don't know where is Jay this week. But anyway, yeah, so I say that to say, hey, Rich Cruz, my friend Rich from
Hey
California.
Rich, yeah, we
Um,
just added each other on Twitter. I love his
okay,
tweets.
good. Yeah, his sunsets will get your life together every single
Okay,
day.
yes,
And again, that's consistent. And that's
yes,
like his meditation. Everybody thinks sometimes that when you talk about meditation, you got to be somewhere with some candles
yeah.
around you going, and that's
No,
not necessarily it. For
no,
Rich, it's his sunset
yeah.
photos. He walks to the beach every day that he possibly can. It's
Oh,
most days. He's there to take a picture of the sunset.
oh,
And he posts it online, so he shares that
yeah.
with everyone else. And he's my gratitude partner. We literally
Oh,
share 5 things that we're grateful for every day.
I love that.
We send each other. We got it in this class. We did this class with Ariana Huffington, who started the
Uh-huh,
Huffington Post like
uh-huh.
about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And one of the assignments in class was to find a gratitude partner, list 5 things that you're grateful for every day, and just make that a habit and become consistent. So Rich and I were partners in the class, and then once the
Oh,
class was over, we just kept doing it, and we
oh,
still
I
do it
love
like 2
that.
years later.
I love that. I love so much about that. Even if you don't have somebody to do that with, is if you just journal and you just write 3 to 5 things you're grateful for, even in your phone in the notes section, it
There's an app
retrains
for
your
it.
brain. Yeah, it retrains your brain to look for good stuff that's happening. And the whole meditation thing. It's funny that we're talking about that, because several people, they've seen posts of us. You and I have just talked online about doing the 21-day meditation with Deepak and Oprah, which I want to talk to you about. But the funny
Okay.
thing is, like, I talk to people, see those posts, and then people will message me and say, "Hey, how do you meditate?" And like they're like, "How do you do it?" And one of the things that I tell people is that, just like riding a bike, you feel wobbly at first, and some days you're gonna fall, even if you're just been doing it for a while. But one thing I like to tell people to do is, people are like, "Oh, I'm busy. I got kids." You don't know. You don't have kids, this and that, whatever. But I say, you know what? Here's a great way to start is, if for a month or for a week, whatever time frame you want to give yourself, if you give yourself, maybe for that week or for that month, you just do 1 minute. You set your timer on your alarm clock or on your phone and have it beep in 1 minute, and all you do is breathe. Even if you just keep thinking things, you let your thoughts go, but you breathe. Then the second week or the second month, whatever timetable or however long it takes you to feel it, is then you do it for 2 minutes. And then by 15 weeks or 15 months, whatever time frame you give yourself, you'll be doing it for 15 minutes. And literally, when I do that now, sometimes I can sit, and you know me, I love to talk. So, so it's like hard for me to sit still. But I do it in the morning because that's when I'm freshest, and I just really need to set my intention for the day. And I'll literally, if I can, sit down for a longer period of time some days. But some days I have a minute.
Right.
And I'll just sit and I'll just breathe, and then all of a sudden I feel like it's a meditation. It's like, it's not a meditation, but it's like cathartic,
Right. And
and
that's
all of a
something you
sudden I
can
feel
do
like,
throughout the day. Anytime
yeah,
that you're overwhelmed, you can stop for a minute. If you
yeah,
don't have a minute for yourself, then you're not living. I've said that before. If you
yeah,
can't give yourself 5 minutes in the day, or
yeah,
even like you said, even if you can't give yourself 1 minute, then you're
yeah.
really no good to anybody.
You know what? And
There's no.
again, and we shouldn't shame ourselves, but sometimes it's like, it is practice. So sometimes we have to check ourselves. It's funny because just driving here, I'm at my cousin's house in Sacramento. My nephew has a little recital and band today, so I drove from San Francisco to see it tonight. But I was just talking with my mom, and she was just like, got on the phone and tried to tell me, pick this person up, pick that person up, do this, do that, and then she's like, and and then I felt myself kind of um, paying attention to that energy. And then for a minute, I felt my blood pressure slowly start to rise. And I was just like, stop, breathe. And then the phone hung up, right? And I was like, oh, she's going to hang up on me? And I was going to call her back. And I was like, well, you know what? Breathe, breathe, just breathe. And then all of a sudden she calls me back and she's like, oh, the phone ran out of battery, sorry. But okay, that's fine if you can't pick them up. And I think a
Right.
lot of times too, our ego is like, it's, you know, it's screaming in our ears, and it's easy to just get up and just react. And instead of react, I think when you take a breath, it's a nice reset. You know?
Yeah, because she was trying to transfer that crazy energy to you, and you
Yes.
wouldn't buy in.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
universe said, "Oh, this phone's gonna die." And
Yeah.
so when she came back,
that's good.
your energy actually transferred to her, and she was calm.
Huh.
But see, we don't always put that stuff together.
Yes.
We just think that it just, you know, because we're always looking for the negative. But
yeah. Well, one day too, I've been trying to learn more about compassion, because one day I was driving in San Francisco, and there was this really, really overweight lady, like red-faced, and she was driving, and we were at an uncontrolled intersection, and I pulled up first, about to make a left, and she screeched to a stop. She was just, I don't know, she looked super pissed, and she gave me the finger. She was screaming and shouting, and you know, instead of getting, I love this life lesson: don't meet crazy with crazy. So what I did was, I don't know what she was going on in her head or in her life at the time, but what I said was, you know, I just kind of sent her love. I obviously didn't say, sending you love, but I was just like, you know what? I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what literally physical weight or spiritual weight or any sort of weight she's carrying on her, but you go first. And I let her go first, and she was screaming at me. So I was just like, okay, I'm sending you love. Like, I'm not going to let this.
Right, I'm not buying into all that nonsense.
Exactly. I'm not going to let that kind of just, you take the joy out of my day, you know?
And we need more, definitely more.
And you know what?
Hey, Fiona.
My aunt, back in the day, my aunt died my mom's sister died of breast cancer when she was in her mid-40s, and she left behind a 13-year-old son. But before that happened, I remember going with her to her, like, chemo treatments and whatnot. And she was, I admit, she was a really slow driver to begin with. She took her time, and she was in the fast lane, driving slow, and people were screaming at her, flipping the bird, cussing at her. And I remember feeding into that energy and being super pissed. I wanted to jump out of the car and, like, bash in their window or throw something at them, because, you know, I was young and foolish. And then I realized that I thought, whoa, you don't even, only if you knew her story, you don't even know.
Right.
And so I try to think that now when people act, you know, up, or they're doing it out of pain, or they, you know, they could have a chemical imbalance, or they could have just come out of a really bad argument or whatever, but just being mindful and present. And again, like you said, going back to your breath.
And realizing that it's not necessarily about you. Now, if you did something to instigate that, that might be a different story if they're reacting that way. But in those kind of random type things,
nothing to do with you.
I know it's not about me. Yeah. So I'm like, whatever happened to you, whatever is happening in your story, like you said, just send them some love and try to move on. Sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah. Oh, it is very difficult. So I think my hardest life lesson to learn, I think I learned it within the last year, is to listen to my inner GPS, and to be more of my truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like physically, mentally, spiritually, just to be okay with whatever that truth is. And when I was growing up, my truth was that I really wanted to, you know, talk for a living. And my mom was like, doctor, lawyer, engineer. Because you know.
You know, I do that all the time now. Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Yeah. And Asian don't raise it. See how I know, right?
I know, right? So, Asian don't raise it. That's one of my favorites. Like, black don't cry. But my mom would, do that. And I fought her tooth and nail. And, when I moved to USF, I went to the University of San Francisco, private Jesuit university. I think the first year was like 25 G's to go there. And my parents we were so poor. My parents gave me $500 to go there, period.
Wow.
You do the math. I mean, I'm Asian, and I'm gonna admit I'm not good at math, but I know that that's not a lot of money. So I had to, like, intern and work a lot. But and my mom didn't talk to me for like 6-7 months. She was kind of like short with me. It's not that she didn't talk to me, but it wasn't until I started doing internships and, like, starting to get scholarships through the Asian American Journalists Association and all this stuff that she was like, oh, he's really serious about this. But again, trying to be empathic and compassionate as to where she was coming from. Think about it. Like, my parents, like, were born in Vietnam, left the country when I was 8 months old. They had 5 kids total, brought the whole family over on a boat. I mean, didn't speak a lick of English. They were wealthy back there, had a construction company, came to Sacramento. 10 of us lived in a trailer park. $4 in our pockets, didn't speak a lick of English. Of course they're going to want me to be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer.
Right.
But again, like you said, there's so many whispers that came through people and through opportunities and things that showed me the way. And I think listening to that inner GPS took me a while, because let me tell you, I took Mr. Clarion's honors chemistry class, almost failed it, and I was just like, this isn't fun. I don't want to be a doctor. I mean, I like to know about sciences, but so anyway, I ended up passing it because I used my communication skills and talked him into
passing you.
Pass. Yeah. Oops. So anyway, so that's one of the things, and you know, just I continue the path, and now it's funny that I have the podcast Truth Dare, which is illuminating conversations with people who have found their true calling, and then daring you to find yours. And here we're telling our truths, you know, through this, you know, these little conversations, and as we meet, and it's just so liberating. I think if it's funny we're talking about this because it resonates with this conversation. Going back to Oprah, and it was Oprah being interviewed by Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't know if you saw. Have you heard the Goop? I know you listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Did you hear that one?
Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it resonated with me so much. I mean, so many things. Like they were talking about like, you know, abuse, and I think, you know, I think we're afraid to come out about our abuse.
Talking about,
and talk about, especially in the Asian community. You know, like I remember. I don't know if you think this is. Well, I'm gonna say this is abuse for me, but when I was a kid, my dad was just a very angry person, and I fractured my wrist, and my mom picked me up from the school, and she goes, "Don't tell your father." She says, "Don't tell dad." And so in the summertime, I hid my broken wrist. Went to the doctor, and I had a cast on, and I hid it in a big oversized Gap sweater the whole summer, because I was afraid that I would get yelled at or hit if he found out that I broke my arm. Because he didn't want me to.
That's so like weak. I don't understand that. What I mean, maybe it can enlighten me. So because he would think that showed weakness or something, or because you broke your arm. I don't understand the.
Yeah, so he told me that I told him that I wanted to sign up for soccer because I wanted to play soccer as a kid, and he was like, "Don't." He goes, "I don't want you to play soccer because you're gonna hurt yourself."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he did a lot of things that didn't make sense. Like I would spill stuff and then I'd get yelled at it. I'd yelled for at it, you know. And he would run around and chase me, and like, you know, I would say, like he would go around the house and like literally sometimes chop up the house with a butcher knife. Yeah, and he would like
whoa.
Yeah, right. And one time he ran and chased me, and he tried to hit me, I think, with the broomstick, and I ducked, and it hit the dresser drawer, and it broke. And to me, I think that's abuse, but I think a lot of Asian people. Yeah, but a lot of Asian people say, "Oh, they're just Asian. They're just, you know, it's the Asian thing." And so it wasn't until like I kind of grew up, and my dad had passed already, and I mean, he didn't know no better. He didn't have a dad, so I forgive him. But coming out about that and saying that, or the first time when you were like, "Oh, I'm gay," you know, like just to say that, you know, for me to say that about myself, it was like a revelation. And I think going back to that podcast, it's like Oprah had said, you know, like we're all here to experience. It's our responsibility to hold our truth,
right,
and shield it. And don't stray away from that truth. And that's really hard because you don't want to be in a situation where you feel unsafe. But that's why people don't come out about different things, whether about being gay or about being abused, or they don't want to hurt other people. But I think I talked to you about this offline before. If there's one video that you watch, it should be on YouTube or a commencement speech. One of my favorites is that Ellen DeGeneres did one. I don't know which university it was, Dartmouth, but I forget which one. But anyway, she talked about her truth and how, like, when she came out about her truth, she was worried that she would lose her show, and she ended up losing her show. She did.
Right.
She
found her fear manifests. Right.
Yeah.
What you focus on will come fast. Yeah. Whether you're good or bad.
It was a time back in the day when it was, you know, like you could lose your job by talking about it. You know, or you would get, you know, well, still nowadays there's still crazy stuff happening in different parts of the world, but it is scary coming out about your truth, but once you come out about it, it just is so freeing. It's so cathartic, you know. And
so wait, you said you were in Sacramento. My aunt just tuned in. Hey, Aunt Seal. My aunt just, I love her. She's my.
hey, you there? I think we. Well, no, I think you are frozen here. Okay, there you are. You're back.
Oh, I'm
You there?
back. Okay, I was trying to make sure I didn't lose my power.
Okay, you were talking about your aunt?
Yes, no, she's in Sacramento.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Sorry about that. And I know you were in Sacramento, so
Yeah,
that was just happening. And I just saw that another unarmed black man was just shot in Sacramento.
Really?
Yes. I believe his name is Stefan. Apparently, I don't have all the details of the story, but apparently he was in his backyard, and was mistaken for, or there was somebody had reported somebody breaking windows or something in the area. I have to look at and see more details, but I know he perished in a hail of bullets. So despite all, I know that we're distracted by the Trump circus every day.
Yeah.
But these slaughterings, and there's still a whole lot of crap going on that needs to be addressed. But yeah, that just happened in Sacramento, I believe, yesterday.
Oh, okay.
I
have to
get the details on it. But Stefan, God, I can't think of his last name. But it's probably trending because I know I've been seeing it pop up a lot. But yeah, that just happened in Sacramento.
I saw a black man was shot in his backyard, but I didn't know that it was Sacramento. I didn't read the details.
Sacramento.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's scary.
And
then with the Austin bombing, what the heck is going on?
Right. And why is it that if this when those and this and in life, loss of life is horrid anywhere, but why haven't I heard anything about any of the victims from this in Texas? If it was France or England and they have those horrible attacks, I hear everything about where they went to school, what they did, how wonderful was the person. But what about the Americans that have been slaughtered in this particular? I found one thing buried in the CNN feed somewhere that I shouldn't have to search the bowels of the internet to find this crap.
Totally at the bottom.
So I'd like to see more something. I'm like, who are these people? Instead of focusing on, there's been this whole shift from focusing on the perpetrators of these crimes to kind of honoring and speaking about the victims. If we can't stop this crap from happening to begin with.
One thing, I agree with you. One thing I don't get too is that if it's a white person that is the perpetrator, the bomber, the shooter, then it's just like a random event. It's just, they were like a lone crazy person. Versus if it was somebody that has some pigment in their skin, then it's an act of terrorism. I'm sorry, this was an act of terrorism. Putting packages on people's doorsteps to have them blow up,
Yeah. Well, that's another discussion. I need to meditate before we have that one.
I know. On a lighter note, though, last week I promised you I would watch A Wrinkle in Time, and I watched it with Kevin, who's watching now. Hey, Kevin, I hope you are not driving. Well, I hope you're paying attention while you're driving to LA. To the road.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Sophia. So yeah, oh my God, what did you think? I seriously loved it. It spoke to my soul.
Oh, Wrinkle in Time.
Wrinkle in Time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did love it. I think the problem that I had with the way it was marketed, because I hadn't read the book, I didn't really get what the film was about from the ads. So once I actually saw it, I was like, oh, wow, this is so much more powerful than they led on. Yeah. But I also get it's kind of hard to market that kind of spiritual type of message to a mass audience in the era of Trump, even though we're the ones that need it the most. But I get that from a business standpoint. But really, if I think they could have leaned into the story of the book or what it was about a little more, because the movie was so beautifully done. Yeah. But it wasn't necessarily when I saw the ads, the trailers for it, it definitely looked spectacular. It looked, beautiful and very fantasy and kind of cool. But the actual story is so powerful, and I just don't think they capitalized on that in the advertisement. But if you haven't seen it, you should. It's really good.
That's an interesting point, though, because it was one of my favorite movies so far, really. And I went into it like you did. I actually Googled it just before we got the tickets yesterday to watch it. I watched it with my buddy Kevin. Lee. And yeah, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that this was what it was about. I thought it was like three fairy godmothers. It's a coming of age story about a little girl, which it sort of is. But yeah, I mean, I guess you have to, like, I guess when I was a little boy, and I watched a lot of every single Oprah episode as a boy, and I remember her coming on camera one day after a new season, and she was talking about how this is when remembering your spirit, the last 5 minutes of
the little segment that she did.
Yeah. And so everybody was like, oh, she's a religious zealot. She's trying to create her own church, which is okay because I subscribe to that church of being a better me. Heck yeah. But she was just like, I just want this to be a window for you to see your best self and your potential. And everybody freaked out about it because she was pioneering bringing a lot of topics, whether it be LGBT or AIDS or whatever, to the forefront and talking about it because it literally was. That's what the people were talking about. It's funny that she also had a show called The People Are Talking. But yeah, I watched it and I felt like it was a feast for my senses. It was like food for my soul. Like it was just fantastical and magical. And I resonated with so many things in it. I think one of my favorite first quotes that I heard was, I think it was Mrs. Whatsit, played by Reese Witherspoon. She told the little girl, she said, your wounds, that's where the light comes in. Something like that. Ooh.
That was like, I was like, ooh, they're here teaching. They're up in the cinema teaching.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I got the chills right now. I mean, just like so many good little bits and chunks. What were your favorite quotes or your favorite parts of this?
That was definitely a favorite. I just was in love with the little boy. What was the little boy's name?
Charles Wallace, right?
Charles Wallace. Oh my goodness. I was just like in love with this guy. I was like, first of all, who is this kid?
Yeah,
he's that character. Just I just loved that. That was probably my favorite. He was probably my favorite. And he had some cute one-liners, but just the fact when he was being used by the darkness and his whole persona changed. That was so very real for so many of us. Yeah. But I don't know that he I just loved. I just loved his whole how he was really able to go to the depths of the darkness as an actor and a character, and to the infinity of the light. I mean, he was hands down my favorite. And that's not taking away from anybody else. I thought everybody.
He had range.
Was great. For sure. He was just amazing. I thought.
Yeah,
he had look up his name now. Yeah.
That was a surprising because I didn't think that he would be, because it seemed like at first he's leading her to the light, and then all of a sudden like this dark side came out. I was like, what? And it was so believable.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that is it Ava DuVernay? I love that she casts a little black girl and multicultural characters in it too, because they transcended. Like what I loved is they transcended who they were. Like I didn't think Mindy Kaling was like this Indian woman, or Oprah is this black lady, or Oprah was a talk show host, or whatever the heck, right? Or this little black girl or whatever. It was just it was just a little girl that we could see, even if we're a boy, we could see her insecurities. We could see. It brought back, like, when people would say mean things to me or would bully me as a kid or whatnot, that it brought back those things. And then I love that when she turned around and they were trying to tempt her with the mirror image of her, the more so-called popular version of her. Because we see that so much, and sometimes we get tempted again, like we said, with the thing that took me the longest to learn is my truth, is like, you know what? I know that when watching TV as a kid, I thought, well, it'd be cool to talk for a living and be a TV reporter. But like everybody that's successful is white that I see, that it's in the network level, they're blonde hair, blue eyes. And again, this was before LeVar Burton was on Reading Rainbow and Oprah was Oprah. And you know what I mean? She was still doing AIM Chicago or whatever. But it was just, it's so crazy how like you can watch a movie like that and just totally, it takes you to a different place. And that's why I really love storytelling so much, because it connects us.
And I think Ava DuVernay, her intention with that movie was about inclusion. She's always been inclusive as a African American female director in Hollywood. That's like 2 people. You know what I'm saying? So, but she's already, like, even with her Queen Sugar, she's on that show. She's got female directors of all races, but they're all female directors doing the episodes. So her vision for A Wrinkle in Time was definitely about inclusion. So it's nice to see finally that there's this wave, that there's this visibility and inclusion, because, you know, art imitates life and vice versa. So I think that will have long-lasting effect or huge impact going forward.
Yeah, and I think not only inclusion of people of color, but just whether it's LGBT,
period, not just people
or
of
women,
color, no. Period.
Or women in general. Yeah.
And yes, Sophia, you need to go see that movie. I think you'll enjoy it.
Hey, Sophia, I love. You would love it because Sophia was one of my former students who just she has a beautiful, amazing lens. I mean, she is a designer. And did a lot of the storyboarding of the stuff at Anthropology, the store. She just has a beautiful, amazing eye. I told her I want to work with her one day in designing stuff. So we shall manifest that as well. But yeah,
vision board.
Yeah, exactly. I know, I need to do a vision board, but you know what my task is to, and Richard Louis, a good friend of mine who's an anchor on NBC, told me this, and he was like, Toan, I know that your next goal, because you've done everything you've wanted, became a TV reporter in a big city, co-hosted a show on PBS, taught at a college level, and I'm like, what else now? And I was like, you know what, I would love to one day do a show like this. I mean, and I'd love to, have maybe the first show on that's done through social media or through live. Maybe you can co-host it with me. But I would love to be here. We're actually doing it right now. But be here. And he was like, well, but you have to, you still have to travel to here first and then do this and then have this. And again, it's going back to what you said earlier. Conversations we have had earlier about just the having an intention for something and making sure that it aligns with your truth, and then surrendering it and letting it go and not having an attachment to the outcome. So whichever way, I feel like whichever way God wants to use me or whichever way I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing to serve other people with the talents and the opportunities that God gave me is where I'll go next, But the vision board I want to do, and I want to ask you about that too in a minute, but he said his task was to write down what it is your goal is so it becomes real, and then start mapping out what are things that could take you there, whether it's so many people are like, oh, you should be a sidekick on somebody's show, you should surprise people on Ellen's show and give them stuff, or do this or do that. And I just have to be you know what, I'm doing the work that I'm doing, having the conversations that I need to have, putting out the content that feels right to me, and then whatever is supposed to happen happens, because everything in my life happened wasn't because of me. It was because I was just an open
something
vessel.
Greater.
Yeah.
And what you just talked about is a vision board. When you're writing down a goal and you're mapping out ways to get to it, that's part of it. But what you do that's beyond that is open yourself up. You have to surrender to the process, because you can't always. Most people think you can't always map out the how. That's the adventure. And so many of us say, okay, I wish I could travel, but I don't have enough money. And you're always looking at money being the only avenue to travel. Yeah. And I'm like, no. You just need to speak the answer and then get out of the way. Because the universe has some fierce ways of blessing people. Yeah. So when you surrender to that process, all kinds of stuff opens up. So, but we're conditioned to think that money is the only way that we can get things. And I'm not trying to say money is important, because I could use a few more dollars any day myself. I will always,
amen to that.
Welcome those.
Like nice things, and to travel.
But many of the nice things and nice experiences I've had have not cost me a dime or very little. So it's always something bigger. I've always just spoken the answer. I don't know how you're gonna make that work out, but okay. The spiritual law is, if I put this up there, surrender, believe, focus on it, do good, stand in my truth, yada, 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 you just manifest. So and that's all I know. And I've learned the first time that worked for me, then it was okay, go, go, go. I love what Rich just said. He said, I think Picasso said something like, find your passion and give it away. Ooh. Amen.
Amen, Rich.
That's it in a nutshell. And then when you give it back, so much comes back to you. So
it comes back 2 million fold.
Yeah. So I love that part. I love it.
That's awesome. You know what? It's funny because I'm not able to on here. We're still trying to figure out this live platform, but I'm not able to read everybody's comments. So if you see any that pop out to you,
oh, okay. So is you're doing this on your phone?
Yeah, I'm doing it on my phone.
And your phone is sideways? What is that?
Sideways.
Landscape? Oh, I don't know mine. They show up on mine.
Okay. Oh, there. I just have to swipe over to the left. Hi, okay. Fiona, here you go. Okay.
The technology challenge.
I know. We're still trying to figure it out. Lots of love to you too, Fiona. Yeah, it's you know, like what you said is so important because you know, it made me think of this one girl. My good friend Suzanne Lettrick has this nonprofit called Glean, where she takes girls out to rural areas around the world to see how other people, other cultures live, and then kind of connect them to their own kind of culture and teach them how to stand in their own culture and their own power and where they're at. And she said there was this girl that she knew that she was just a bright light, but she couldn't see it herself. She really was like that little girl in Wrinkle in Time. And she didn't see her brilliance and her magic. And so she was like, I really want to travel. I don't have money, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, but you're blocking it from coming. Like you said earlier, speak it.
And then get out the way. Surrender.
And get out of the way. Surrender and get out of the way. I love that. Yeah. And so she said, she's like, she didn't understand how that could happen. She goes, but it takes money to travel, this, that, and the other. And then she went to the airport, and they said that, and she needed $500 for a ticket to go see a family member that she wanted to travel to see. And so right there, they said, oh, you know, we overbooked our flights. We're giving $500 vouchers, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? She wasn't paying attention. She was, I guess, I don't know if she was on her phone or she didn't listen. And my friend, Suzanne, told the girl, hey, did you hear that? And she goes, what? She goes, they're giving $500 vouchers away, and they'll bump you to the next flight. So you'll only be, you know, you only get home a couple hours later. Can you do that? And she's like, oh my God.
Right. See, the universe always answers. Always answers. Hey, Mike, another good friend of mine just joined. Hey, from New York.
Hey, Mike,
via Philly.
Freezing.
Yeah, somebody I've known for years, decades. But yeah, so you're absolutely right. They're texting me about going to dinner now. Okay, children, I'm coming. I see them. My colleagues. We're going out to a Japanese place. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just had Japanese with a good friend of mine. I love me some Japanese. It's funny. Sophia says, "Okay, I need to see the movie now. You guys sold me." You know what? We are. She said great topics. Thanks, Sophia. But you know what though? For reals though, I really going back to this whole, because I'm ADD and need to like go full circle on the Wrinkle in Time thing. They just need to maybe build some community around it, have people talk about it and share it, because I've already told several people, and like literally like 20 people are going to go watch it now. But it was like one of the, like what we're talking about now, but it's in like a movie, fantastical, magical.
Right, but how do you mass market that message to the, you know, to the mainstream? So I get the dilemma that Disney had. It's like you're trying to get people, you know, you're trying to get everybody to come see this. So if you really get to the nitty gritty of what it's about, then it may turn some people off. But it would also, it may intrigue. I don't know, man. It would have intrigued me. I mean, because I feel like they didn't talk about what the story was about much at all in Africa.
Yeah, but you know what though? If you are meant to see it and you're here, you're at the place where you're seeking, then it will come to you. Then this conversation will reach somebody through social media, or people reach out to me through Instagram, and I'm like not obsessed with like having 1 billion followers or like doing way too much with it. I just tag my post, do a really quick post. But I don't take too much time. But yes, people DM me and say, hey, can I talk to you offline about some spirituality, or can you suggest some books or whatever? You know, and I'm like, ooh, people are listening. And randomly too, like through social media, like you brought up Ariana Huffington, like we had connected. Somehow she saw my stuff somehow. She asked me to share my stories on Go Inspire Go on the Huffington Post back in the day. She like emailed me and privately asked me to share and become a blogger. I mean, like, I don't know how things like that happen, but it's funny how when you put your intention out there, and I always say you have to trust in the process, because there's a maturation rate that has to happen, right? And you have to learn. Trust, but action with it, that word is traction. And you've heard me talk about that before.
Talk about that. It's funny because also with Ariana, she did an online class, the same one that Rich and I took. Yeah. And I remember afterwards, I was tweeting her about the class or whatever. And she said, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You should write something about it for the Huffington Post. And I'm like, girl, you're not talking. She said, email me, you know, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. So, and I never did, right?
Yeah.
And then Oprah did a series called Belief for the network.
I love Belief. Yeah.
And so she invited us to the premiere in New York, and I got to talk to Ariana Huffington afterwards, and she was telling me, I was telling her that story, and she says, email me. She said, email me and tell me, write about it and email me so I can have it put up. And at this time, she was selling Huffington Post to whatever, but I did email her, and sure enough, same thing. And she invited me to do some other stories. So I actually did a few features for Huffington Post. But again, like you said, I never knew that would have happened that way. I didn't know that was going to come to me that way. Exactly. And I wasn't obedient to the call the first time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or, people always say to me too, I'm sure they say this to you because you and I have shared many stories about stuff like this happening. But like I told somebody, I was like, one of my friends opened up a nonprofit, and she asked me she said, if I fly you to Sydney, Australia, will you come speak and do a keynote? And the topic you'll love, and I should post it online actually because it was recorded. Somebody just recorded it, kind of like a civilian, regular person. It wasn't professionally done. But the topic you'll love, it was the aha moments, the moment or moments when you had a download aha and you paid attention to it, like you say, obey, and you obey it and you take action, and then it changes the trajectory of your life and other people's lives. Yeah. And people are like, wait, what?
Like, what? That's not that. No, that's too frou-frou out of there.
I know what? Yeah. And since then, it's like I've done a lot. It's funny because my mentor had asked me, what was your goal 2 years ago? What's your goal for this next year? And I was like, well, I love speaking, but I love the live experience, kind of like what we're having now. But I love also the audience. And so I was like, I would love to do more motivational speaking. I spoke it, and let me tell you, I did nothing really, except that talking about it. Well, I did something. I talked about it. I blogged about stuff and everything. But anyway, long story short, 14 speaking engagements in the last year. Yeah,
it works. It just works. I tell people all the time. It's like, don't look at my life and be like, oh, well, you're so lucky. No, just embrace those same principles and create your own luck.
Yeah. And, and one thing that I feel so lucky for is, like you said, it's like, the true things that bring you joy in life isn't really, you can't pay for it. And it's like things like this conversation we're having, our brotherhood, our friendship, and like people that don't know how we met. It's just crazy because I was in LA for a shoot for my Truth Dare podcast. Yeah. One of my friends, Gary, who knows your friend Laura, I know, was like, hey, you got to meet Laura. And then all of a sudden, I think you froze up here, but anyway, all of a sudden I turned around. I was about to get on I-5, driving back to San Francisco, turned around. Hey, there you are.
I'm listening.
Turned the car around, met up with Laura. We were talking, and she was like, you got to meet Lonnell. You guys, your energies is very similar. And then you, who lives in Atlanta
across the country,
into the same restaurant.
Right. It was like, that was so, right. That was so, I mean, of course we should understand that that's just how this stuff works. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. That was so random. But literally how that happened.
There's nothing is random.
About it at all.
But I do love, and I'll just text you if you don't mind. Whenever I find things that I'm grateful for, I'll just kind of text it to you. I would love to do that.
Yeah, there's an app called the Gratitude app.
Okay.
And Rich and I use it every day, and
I'll have to try it.
I can't remember I don't remember. But thanks, Sophia.
Oh, thanks, Sophia.
The Gratitude app, and you can put it in there every day, and you can put pictures in it. And then if you want to tweet it out publicly, you can. You can email it right from the app. You can do all this. It's great.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. I gotta meet Rich too.
I'll gift it to you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I gotta meet Rich too because I love his post. I fall asleep sometimes looking at. I like to look at something positive before I go to bed, instead of looking at the stuff happening in the world, Trump and all that.
Yeah, that's a good way to go to sleep on something positive.
But I fall asleep sometimes to his sunset shot, or sometimes it'll be something that you tweeted about. The next talk our next chat, I know you got to go to dinner and I have to jam to my nephew's recital, but I do want to talk about the 21-day meditation and more meditation stuff.
Oh, yes. If you're not doing it, please do. Yeah.
I know. Oprah Deepak, 21 meditation, baby. Rich, are you doing it?
They've got a whole series of them. And I love when we all do it together because then everybody's kind of on the same thing every day.
Yeah.
But even between, after the 21 days are up, before they recycle or do another one, I still go back and do them all repeatedly anyway.
Yeah, I do that
yeah.
too. Sometimes I'll pick and choose a la carte which ones that I felt like I needed it again. Oh yes, Rich is doing it too. But yeah, I would love to have a discussion about like it because something that came up this last week kind of really emerged. Fiona is listening. She's a soul sister of mine that is very intuitive, and you know, she literally said that, you know, she brought up how I needed to stop taking care of so many people all the time and really have some more time to self-care for my own spirit. And that punched me like, you know, in the gut. And
in the gut, it should have.
Yeah, and I didn't get it at first, but it really was I needed to be lighter. And this whole series is about finding the lightness in you. And when you first look at it, you might think, oh, weight. Sure, it could be about weight if that's what you need to get from it. But for me, it's just being lighter in my spirit. And as you know, my brother-in-law committed suicide last year, and that totally wrecked me in terms of not dealing with it yet, because I've been helping my niece, my nephew, my sister, my family. And really, it just, after you GSD, I call it get shit done for everybody else, then, you know, like oxygen mask, you need to drop it on yourself and take care of yourself. Yeah. And so that's what I've been doing, and this really helped me. So I woke up one morning. I don't know why I don't really check Twitter right away when I wake up, but I checked it, and your 21-day tweet caught my eye, and I went right to it. I got my ass out of bed, sat out, face the window outside in my living room, turned on a candle, got some tea, and I did it, and
and now we're all in the same vibration for the next 21 days, and hopefully beyond.
So thank you for that. It was good seeing you.
Thank you, Oprah and Deepak.
Okay, I know, amazing that we're all doing it together too, and Rich said he's doing it too. So, you know, I'm grateful for that, for sure. Okay, we'll jam. We'll talk next week.
All right, have a great week. Send us some questions, some topics, whatever. I'm going to be on the road traveling next week, and I've got a very exciting international trip I can't wait to talk about. But that's
awesome.
not
Can't wait to hear. Down the line. Yeah, send us if you guys want us to chat about something or whatever, what's on your mind, let us know. We'll talk more about it next week. See you later, brother.
Have a good one.
Bye.